everybody. Assalamu alaikum. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the notify button so you know when you're getting new episodes. And we just want to grow this project. I thank you in advance. Without further ado, let's get it rolling. The Shout Out Show. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. This is me, Preacher Moss, the host of the SOS the Shout Out Show. Wow, we made another Friday. I don't know, is it you or is it me? Is it just the days kind of just racing by? Like, I know what I did last Saturday, but I can't remember what I did last week. I can't remember what I did on Wednesday. But it seems the days are just rolling. I don't know if that's a byproduct of us being this pseudo lockdown. Maybe we're all COVID out. I don't know. Who knows? Coronavirus has gotten everybody in different ways. I'm no different. Let me start with some housekeeping rules. Number one, if you're coming to the show for the first time, please allow me to welcome you to the Shout Out Show. We appreciate you dropping by for this little bit of time, and appreciate if you would actually hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, because we're trying to grow the show. That's number one. Number two is we want to make sure that you have the best experience that you can have here on the Shout Out Show. We say the best experience that we can offer you. Now, that's them. For people that come on the show regularly, you know I appreciate you. You know I love you. You know what? There's no way to show that great appreciation outside of the fact that I'm just going to try to do better shows, better content, better format. All right? So today's episode, brothers and sisters, I thought about this one because there's a lot of pushback on kids going to school, parents sending their kids where they think that there's a high likelihood that they could get COVID-19. I actually just decided to jump over that. I'm going to be on some topics next week. There will be some fairly deep topics, but this is the Friday Funnies. And I thought, you know what, I'll give us a little break on the Friday Funnies. So I want to talk about the old school. See, the old school back to school days. Now, the old school back to school days usually had a heavy period of mourning about 2 weeks before you had to go to school, because kids realize now the game is over. All the stuff you got, especially when you got to be like in middle school, high school, you could hang out in your house while your mom and dad were working. You could do darn near whatever you wanted to do, and we did. But my point is, it was a time of just freedom, hanging out, going to the store. Where we used to live, sometimes they had matinee roller skating. And I mean, it was just that type of thing. And it was a rite of passage, brothers and sisters. It was a rite of passage. And I would say this because, you know, at different levels, when you were in elementary school, it meant something. Like if you were like first grade to like, I don't know, fifth grade, sixth grade, you know, school was different, you know, because it really revolved around the fact that you're going to go to daycare. Somebody's going to be babysitting you. The Watkins family, the Adrian Watkins used to try and babysit me as best she could. God bless her soul. In the kitchens, they used to do whatever they could do. I was a horrible babysit kid. I do what I want to do. In fact, I used to bake. My mother would allow me to buy different baking stuff, and I would cook up like these crazy cakes, like put orange juice in cake. Put lemon juice in cake, and then I'd be afraid to eat them. I try to get her to eat them. I wasn't trying to kill you, Mom, but you know what I'm saying. That was number one. Now, that was if you were lucky. My mom and dad, I love them, but I have to shout this out. And I don't know if your mom and dad ever did this to you. My mom and dad would send you to summer camp. And I mean summer camp. My mother sent me to a spot in Baltimore, outside of Baltimore. I'm not going to talk about that spot. But the camp she sent me to for 2 summers straight was, what was it? It was Camp Summit Hill in Emmitsburg, Pennsylvania. Camp Summit Hill. And it was a nice place. You could fish, all that type of stuff. The only thing about Camp Summer Hill, it was like a Christian camp, and every night you had to go through this religious thing. It was a Christian camp and singing. Hey, Mom, you wasted your money on that one. Because I'm not Christian anymore. You could have done something with that. You could have bought yourself a new sofa or something. 2 years straight for me to Camp Summer Hill. Okay, but that's it. But as the summer goes along, kids in their mind start running the clock out, realizing that summer is not going to happen. You can't stay out till 8, 9 o'clock anymore, shooting basketball, waiting for the lights to come on, playing tennis. We did it all, man. You can't do it anymore. All of a sudden, school is right around the corner. And you knew school was right around the corner because your mother, not necessarily your dad, but your mother would make you go school shopping. I haven't heard anything about school shopping all summer. I don't know about you. I don't know if it's COVID or whatever, but I haven't seen the big big sales about school shopping, school supplies. We don't hear that anymore. That was a big thing in our neighborhood. Because when the first week, 2 weeks you came to school, I don't know about you where you went to school, but you had to look fly. I mean, you had to have the fresh kids. My dad would hook me up with these blue suede Pumas. Not the one they have right now with the blue shoestring, but with the white string. You can see them 10 miles away. A plane can land on your clean Puma laces. You hear what I'm saying? And that was the fun part of it. And of course, you got all your school stuff together. And that was the way it was, man. And I'll tell you this. It was a rite of passage because at that point in time when you came to school and you lined up, that was the exact time you found out who got held back. I don't mean to laugh when kids got held back. Remember you in the 6th grade line and you see your friend in the 5th grade line, you be like, what you doing over there? He just look at you like this. Well, come on over here. I knew he wasn't right away. I mean, come on over here with the 6th graders. And he look over like, And then you always got reacquainted with the people that you didn't like. Now, in my class, there was a girl named Earlene Harris. I don't know what problem Earlene had in her life. All I know is we didn't get along. Earlene was one of the people that would start stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you remember you were in class and you were trying to pass a note to the cute girl, but you had to go to the not so cute girl. Remember what I'm saying? And you'd be like, Earlene, pass this note. This woman would read my, and they were loud too because they're trying to get you in trouble. And she opened it up. She'd be like, no, I don't want to go with you. No, I don't like you. I'm like, girl, the note ain't for you. It's for that girl beside you. And you be embarrassed. Number one, she knew you blew your hustle because the cute girl was like, oh, you like her? And then the class be like, oh, you like her? And then she just blew your hustle like nobody like you. All right, so big ups to Earlene Harris. All right, so but my point of the matter is, it was fun. It was fun. You got to see your teachers and all of that. But that was elementary school. As you got older, there was middle school, and then there was high school. Now, let me tell you guys a very traumatic story of what happened to me, brothers and sisters, in middle school. I had potentially one of the best, hear me now, one of the best summers after I graduated 6th grade. No summer camp. I'm hanging out. I'm kicking. I'm having a good time. No summer camp. Oh, you got to run your chores. Me and my boys are running all over the neighborhood, chasing girls, playing ball, buying pop. We're doing all this good stuff. And then it hits me, the internal clock that every child gets when, school gets near. I was like, Mom, school's getting there. And I'm like, hey, Mom, we are not taking advantage of the sales that I'm reading in the paper because I need my gear for school, back to school. And she said, baby, don't you worry about it. And I'm like, oh, my mom's cool. Maybe she need to work, get her a check. I found myself reminding my mom a lot more times than I was comfortable with. And I'm like, Mom, why can't we get my stuff? Why can't we get my stuff? She said nothing, brothers and sisters. Zero. So this time, it comes for me to go to school, and I'm like talking to the other kids. They got the new stuff. They're like, what are your stuff? I'm like, oh, my mom tripping. You know how you said, my mom crazy. You know, that's what it was. And brothers and sisters, my mother said, I have your stuff ready for you for school. And I was like, word, really? She said, go down in the room and look. I went in the closet. I saw an orange box. And I started looking around like, where's my other stuff? She said, look in the box. I looked in the box, and it was a pair of black patent leather, like military shoes, like tuxedo shoes. I was like, what is this? You know, Mom, what is this? My mother's like, that's for you. My mom had enrolled me in military school, St. John's College High School. Now, brothers and sisters, I'm here to tell you, it was nothing fly about wearing a military uniform or wearing a blazer when all the other kids had on the fly stuff. You in there looking like a broke Ivy Leaguer with a tie and a white shirt and a blue blazer and gray pants. And I mean, I ain't never cried like that, an emotional cry, uh, without somebody dying. I'm saying probably dying horrifically. And I cried the blues, and that was the end of it. That was the end of me in public school. Mama, I wanted to go to Thomas Johnson High School with the rest of the kids, with Terrence and Rick and all of them. And my mom was like, absolutely not. She had conspired with my sixth grade teacher to make sure that I ain't go. So here I am going to a military school. And I don't think I ever shook the shock off of it really until I graduated. Because, brothers and sisters, my next 6 summers revolved around that military school. Now, why am I bringing this up? I'm talking about back to school. Back to school used to be a fun time. It was a point of family clarity. It was a re-emphasis that education was important. Let me say this again. Education was important. This is the days when you had, like my school, they didn't ever have any, they didn't have truant officers. That, you know, he lived in the suburbs. You know, if he didn't come in, he must have an opening. He must be sick. But the idea of truancy, hanging out, it really wasn't in the mind of a sixth grader, really even a seventh grader. We went to school, we studied, that was the plan. And you know what? Going back to school was interesting because each and every year you realized you were getting to the end of that space. What's the end of that space? The end of that space is the state doesn't have to fund your education. It's not compulsory. Once you got like 16 to 17, you want to drop out of school, you could drop out of school. And I'm saying this because you had some dropouts, but most of the kids back then stayed. And the reason why they stayed is because if you dropped out of school, you better have a really good job because you were not going to be hanging out at your mom and dad's place. Meaning, you better be working to join the service. Now, for me, I just told you I wound up going to military school, 6 years, graduated, second lieutenant. That's not the point. The point is, even though I had to go through that spot of going to military school, every summer was punctuated by the fact that you had to get your mind right, go back to school. Now I'm gonna flip it around a little bit, you know, because the flip side is I wound up being a teacher. You guys know this. The funny part is, at one point in time, I actually thought about what it was to these kids to have to come into school as a teacher. And I realized if I was the kids, I wouldn't want to come in. And I realized the reason because I was a teacher and I didn't want to come in. Teachers have some of the dopest summers in the world. Well, I mean, if you manage your pay right. But it was fun. And education, for lack of a better word, education back then had a different type of merit to it. Like right now, we're arguing, you know, there was trauma going to school. You know, the first day of school, if you ever want to watch trauma, watch kindergartners get dropped off from their mamas. Man, those little jokers do not want to leave their mamas. I'm here to tell you, boy, you got to bring in the Army Reserve, the Marine Reserve, and a couple of Nation Islam, Fruit of Islam brothers to quell that type of thing. But I mean, it was the visual. Community schools was such an amazing process back then. This is before you had charter schools, magnet schools, all of that. Meant like wherever you were in your space where you're supposed to go to school, that's where you went to school. Now, um, it was different with my partner, my homie Leon, didn't go to middle school at Thomas Johns. He went to Goddard. I think the reason he went to Goddard is Goddard had a better music program. And he wound up being a musician. And God bless that. But it was still this idea. And I'm not saying it's missing these days. I'm saying that we're not playing to it as important as it was back in the past. We get our kids now. You take a kid to go shopping. The child has the phone and all of that. The kid doesn't really want to go get fly stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it was the idea summer, brothers and sisters, summer meant that you could be out of the house all day long. And the sad thing about going back to school was you in that classroom all day long. Some of you are vibing with me. You remember that time you just look out the window and that'd be a 2-hour look, just waiting for class to finish, or somehow the teacher was going to stop talking, or or somehow quit. I used to have dreams about my 6th grade teacher getting frustrated and quitting, or falling out, having a seizure. That's what I would think, but it never happened. Love you, Miss Jones. But my point is, and I make a lot of points, by the way, it was a magic time. It was a magic time. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. That was our job to go to school. And you took a little pride in going to school. And you think about your mother making your lunches. You remember going to your buddy's house, picking them up, then go to school. We had a place called Sherman Park. And there was a spot in Sherman Park where all the fights would happen. I had my fair share of them. But there was a place in Sherman Park where the fights would happen. And it was always cool, because the fights would happen, but we would play ball back down the way. And school reminded us that, you know what? You had the summer off, but it's time to get back to work. And I do miss that. There's always this scenario now where you really got to sell school to kids. I don't know why. You got to really sell education to kids. When I was young, you didn't have to sell it to me. I understood that mom worked, dad worked, my work was at class, and you better do a great job in class because you understood the connection of sacrifice. I talk about going school shopping, brothers and sisters. That was probably one of the most intense times that I was in tune with my mother, because I realized that she was buying me things to equip me to go to school, not so much, to look good, but to fit in. And that back to school shopping was such a social event. You would see all the other kids. I don't know if y'all ever did this, but I know when I was in elementary school, I'm not saying I'm fly or anything, but I remember laying the clothes I was gonna wear for school. Did you ever do that? Put the hanger, lay it, and then you frame it like a picture, like click click. I did that. I did, like, ooh wait, and I would say things. Oh, I'm gonna be killing them in this. Had no connection to education, but that was our social spot, the social meet, and it was interesting because when we were young, through elementary school, we really even through middle school, the kids that would bust in, we wouldn't see them for the whole summer. So when they came back to school, it was really cool, but it also gave you some glimpses of reality too. The kids that didn't come back to school and the stories that you would hear as to why they didn't return, you'd be like, oh, wow. And that becomes that space where you get to understand that the world is a vast place with different experiences and people going through different things at different times. There was a story of a young guy we knew. He didn't come back to school because his mother had a terrible accident. And I remember when he finally came back to school, how we congealed, if you will. We had this compassion for this brother. And it was pretty cool because he responded. His name was Charles Carroll. And Charles was a funny dude, man, funny dude. And you know what? School was the place to be because children knew their place. In elementary school, they knew their place. Even in middle school, we knew our place. Now, mom, I'm gonna throw this on you. I stopped laying out my clothes in seventh, eighth, all the way up to 12th grade because it was the same thing. I had to wear a uniform. In fact, the middle school uniform sucked because it was a blue blazer, white shirt, gray pants, black shoes, and the tie was gray and blue. And when you went to eighth grade, it was the same setup except the tie was burgundy and gray. And then when you got to middle school, it was a military uniform, Army issue, Army issue. But I'm saying, even those points, the idea, and for me, it was different because I know some of y'all are going to relate to this. Summer would actually, I mean, school would actually start early for you during the summer because you play sports. So it may be 4 weeks worth of practice in the hot sun. I played soccer, I played tennis. 4 weeks of practice, working. Uh, you're talking about scrimmages. You're talking about workouts. You're talking about. They didn't do weightlifting back then, but you get the point. And that whole idea of community was such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful space. Now I bring that up because not that I miss it. But I say it because our children here in the scenario right now, they're not experiencing that. A lot of schools are going to open, but they're going to be virtual. And so you'll see your classmates on Zoom or whatever they use. You'll see your classmates, but it's not the same as, God forbid, Erling Harris is still around. It's not the same as trying to pass a note to the cute girl and you get blown up by the not so cute girl. It's not the same as your teacher looking at you or the teacher turning their back and you can make an ugly face or a goofy face at other kids around. Or in my case, I was a professional laugh starter. I would get kids to laugh and then I'd have a stone face and they try to snitch me out. I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about. But the idea of proximity is a very, very valuable, important point that I'm making here. So schools are starting. And I said, hey, elementary school, middle school, high school, you know what? It was fun. Sometimes first days were traumatic, but we loved it. What I never had to worry about, which is kids are worrying about the day and parents are worrying about the day, is that school has now being considered dangerous. It's not community. It's not correlating for teachers now. The joy of going to classrooms is that you have to. The joy is I want to say tempered, if you will, because now you got to make decisions on your own. So today, brothers and sisters, just today, don't think about COVID. Go back in your own past. Maybe talk to some of your kids about when you went to school. You know, when you were doing hanging out during the summer. Did you have to go to summer camp? I had to, like I said. Or you had to go with an in-law, or you had to go with cousins. You know, and we all live that life, but that doom, that reality that faces when we were kids is when August came or September came or you got close to Labor Day, you knew what it was. I got to go to school. I got to go to school. So maybe, if you can, talk to your kids. Tell them about the fun you used to have. Maybe they can tell you about what happened last year, you know, but I don't want it to be lost on the situation with this virus. I don't want to be lost on the situation with this virus. I want people to remember those days because those are the things that give you memories, good memories about your friends, your family, your parents. You know, outside of my mother sending me to military school, we've been all right. We've been all right. But even then, I think back and I run through my mind having to go to military school, and I can always tell my mom, "Thank you," because just the same as she would give me clothes, get me ready for school, she put me in a school to get me ready for life. And all I'm asking right now, with COVID, all of that, is that we remind ourselves and keep our eyes on the prize with our children. That listen, whatever it is, kids, whatever it is, we're trying to get you ready for life. So even dealing with COVID, even dealing with George Floyd, because it's a lot for kids to consume on television. You got to watch what kids watch. And sometimes you got to balance it out. Got to cut off the TV, got to put the ringer on the phone, and let them know, you know what? We used to have conversations, oh my gosh, on the porch. Remember the porch? Oh my gosh. And let the kids know whatever's going on, we love you, we're here for you, but you got to get up and get your butt out to school. So, with that, brothers and sisters, have an amazing rest of your Friday. I'll be back tomorrow if it's God's will, and I hope to see you. Until then, stay blessed. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thanks again. Hey everybody, this is your brother Preacher Moss. Listen, I hope that you enjoyed your shout out show experience. We'll be back with the next show, the next shout out show. Simple ask before you go, please help your brother out. Click that subscribe button, click that notify button, and I'll see you again on this side of the microphone. You probably wonder what that smell is. That's me. I smell good. And the reason I smell good is because I use oils from Tarifa Tar. So I'm not saying you can't smell good. I'm not even saying you stink. I'm saying you have the opportunity to smell exquisite. Check out tarifatar.com for some of the best oils and scents in town.